Hi everyone, welcome back to the Sports Breakdown. After a long time, we are back since Sunday doing the post-match analysis of India versus Pakistan. Today we brought in a special guest, Jack from the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast from Australia. Please do check out his YouTube channel.
Doing the post-match analysis of India versus
Sorry,
Pakistan.
Somebody.
I
Jack,
think my
do you have
YouTube has been.
your Chrome tab on?
Yeah,
Do
I
you have
think so.
like a
I
YouTube
just
tab
muted it.
on?
Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So we brought in Jack from the Dibbly Dobbly podcast. Please check out his channel because he does awesome content on cricket, and especially he discussed on mental health recently with
Yeah,
Tom, if I'm not
watch
mistaken,
that.
and then with Daryl Harper
Um,
also, an elite
oh yeah.
ICC umpire. So please do check out his content on YouTube, the Dibbly Dobbly podcast, and I think the link of his YouTube channel is in the description, so please do check out. So welcome Jack to the on the sports breakdown.
Well, thanks for having me, Pawan. It's great to be with you to talk cricket today. Thanks for that introduction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So without further ado, we want the introduction from Jack as well, who's from
Yeah.
Australia, as we know, and handles the YouTube channel Dibbly Dobbly Podcast. So we want a small introduction of yourself, how you got involved with cricket, and who's your favorite Australian cricketer, and your best moments in the Ashes, especially since the Ashes is the big
Oh.
topic in Australia. So yeah, let's start. Yeah, Jack.
Well, how I got into cricket, well, it was basically in school, really. I started playing in school. I found the game interesting, and ever since I've been hooked. It's been an obsession, really. Um, Obviously, over the years, it's grown. I've watched a lot of cricket, and now with the podcast, covering games a lot more, and whenever I can, post on the channel. So if you want to subscribe and listen to me drabble on about cricket, you're more than welcome to do so. Because I like talking about cricket, and that's why I'm here today, talking cricket with you guys who are passionate. Obviously, Sri Lanka, a very passionate cricketing country, of course, and for many years, obviously, Australia the same. Over the years, favourite players of mine from Australia, probably Ricky Ponting and Michael Hussey, two of my best players that I've seen. Especially Michael Hussey is probably my favourite one, just because he was a great team guy, great batsman, probably underrated really in his career. He should have played
And he
more
has a
for
great
Australia.
cricket knowledge also. I think one of the brainiest cricketers. I mean, along yeah, they say Michael Hussey has. I mean, he's a bookworm of cricket. I mean, when
Yes.
it comes among cricketers, yeah. Jack, continue, yeah.
Yeah, and Ricky Ponting, of course, obviously wonderful batsman and captain for Australia. So, you mentioned about the Ashes, favourite moments that I've had from the Ashes. Well, probably 2013-14, where we won 5-0 in Australia, was probably one of my best series that I've watched. Also, you got 2006-7 as well, where we won 5-0 here in Australia after we lost in 2005 in England in that great series. So probably those two series are the standout for me. And obviously Ben Stokes at Headingley in 2019 was a great match, even though Australia was on the wrong side of that, but it was a great match to watch.
Yeah.
So those are probably my standouts from the Ashes over the years of watching cricket.
Yeah. So let's move on your opinion so far on how Australia cricket team has performed so far in the 2020 World
Yeah.
Cup. So there were two warm-up games, if I'm not mistaken, against New Zealand and another team, and then their first match was against South
India.
Africa, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
India.
India and South
Is
Africa,
India.
which I think they lost against India, and they won against New Zealand in the other warm-up game, and then they played their first round match against South Africa, and today they are obviously playing against Sri Lanka, which we'll speak later. Yeah. So, Jack, what's your opinion so far on how Australia has performed in the 2020 World Cup?
So far, if you're including the warm-up games as well, and also our first game against South Africa, it's been a bit of a mixed bag. We've been a bit patchy in some areas, some questions to be answered. I thought in the warm-up games we did well to win against New Zealand. We lost against India, so a bit of inconsistency there. I thought in the first game against South Africa we did okay. It wasn't a convincing, dominant victory, even though we bowled South Africa out for a low score in that match. But we did well to find a way and get back into that match and chase down the runs. It looked a bit sketchy there in the run chase, but I thought the bowlers did well. So good signs. It's the beginning of something. Hopefully we can build on that into the match against Sri Lanka today, and hopefully for the rest of this T20 World Cup campaign.
Yeah, and especially against South Africa, the way that Josh Hazelwood bowled 2 for 19, and especially coming after the IPL with CSK with great form. What's your intake on his form recently, Jack? Jack, especially Josh Hazelwood, because he's bowling in the right lanes, bowling those good lengths, and getting wickets and bamboozling the batsman actually, and he's been in terrific form so far. So, thoughts on Josh Hazelwood? Yeah.
Yeah, Josh, he's been really good. He's sort of reinvented himself as a T20 bowler, obviously. He's coming up with different variations. He's bowling that test match line and length. Obviously, if I can compare Josh Hazelwood, he's like Glenn McGrath. He bowls that good line and length over and over again. So you need that sort of bowler in your T20 side, someone who can be consistent, but also take wickets as well. And he did that, obviously 2 for 19 in this match against South Africa. Got rid of de Kock and Van der Dussen with some great deliveries. And he really set the tone for Australia in the bowling performance in this match. And the other bowlers were able to contribute, take wickets, and bowl South Africa keep them to a low total in the end.
Yeah. Also, I want to talk about one specific player here, David Warner, who's been really struggling with form, and I know that his records have been good against Sri Lanka. But are you concerned about David Warner's form? First of all, I mean, with especially Finch and Warner not sticking to, not getting a good partnership, and recently I think Warner struggled with SRH as well and was left out of the team and had some issues. So, Jack, your thoughts on David Warner right now? Yeah.
Well, am I concerned about his form? A little bit. He hasn't been himself. We saw that in the IPL, how that happened with the Sunrisers, and he was on, a bit of a form slump there in the IPL. Didn't play the rest of the IPL. The warm-up games and the game against South Africa, I thought he looked like he was going to score a big score against South Africa. He was playing some good shots, but then he got out cheaply again. I think it's just a mindset thing for him. I think he just needs to go out there and just do what he does best, and that's batting. Just see the ball, hit the ball, forget about everything else. Forget about the media stuff, because the media are questioning his form. Same with Finch. They're past it. They're old. Well, he's just turned 35, I think. It was his birthday the other day. As a batsman, you don't get better in your late 30s, but he's still got it. He hasn't lost anything. He's just in a bad patch of form, like all players.
He's in a bad patch of form. He still has really good talent, David Warner. And when you don't know, he can come and play really well, and that's David Warner, and he showed that to us throughout his career. So yeah, you can doubt David Warner, but there's a big chance that he's going to fight back.
Absolutely. I agree with everything you said there. It takes one good shot, one good innings to get back into form. So hopefully against Sri Lanka today, him and Finch can do that and get Australia off to a good start, and hopefully put them in a good position to win this match today in a very important match.
Yeah, hopefully David Warner can get back in form, but I hope he doesn't smash Sri Lanka today. But yes, I hope he can get back in form.
Yeah. And then I also want to talk about the new number 3 batsman as well, Mitchell Marsh, who's been really settled, and he's being in absolute good form, especially again in the West Indies series and in the I think especially in the West Indies series and Bangladesh series as well. He was in really good form overseas. And Jack, your thoughts on the new number 3 for Australia, Mitchell Marsh, who's been a complete brilliant. I mean, he's been a terrific batsman so far. I mean, being settled as number 3. He usually bat in the middle order at number 5 or number 6, but now he's settled into number 3, which usually Steve Smith, I think, usually got to play at number 3, but now he's playing at number 4. So your thoughts on Mitchell Marsh, Jack?
Mitchell Marsh has a bit of a love-hate relationship with fans. They either hate him or they like him. I thought he did okay at number 3 in the game against South Africa. I thought he batted with good intent. He was positive, looking to score, which you need at number 3. It's a very important position in the batting order. I thought he batted okay. Hopefully he can continue on this great form and be consistent for a long period of time now. and that's very important for Australia. So I like him at number 3. That's where they want him to bat in this T20 team. So as long as he's consistent and still scoring runs, I think he'll be a good option for Australia at number 3.
Yeah, because his recent form also is saying, I mean, against against South Africa, he did get out for a low score. But in this recent series against Bangladesh and West Indies, he carried the team forward, and I hope he does the same against Sri Lanka today. And I think he has a great chance as a number 3 batsman, especially he's cemented his spot, and I think he can definitely deliver any day, and hopefully he does. So next, we want to talk about Australia's pace bowling attack. I think Mitchell Starc. Is there any update on Mitchell Starc today, Jack, on his injury?
Yes, he did cop a bit of a blow to the knee at training today or yesterday, I think it was. He was moving around okay, so he may play. They may not play him. We'll wait and see on that. So that's up to the medical staff to decide if he plays today. But he seemed to be moving freely, so I think he's a good chance to play today. If not, probably the next game.
Yeah. But your thoughts on the Australian pace bowling attack, especially they have Hazelwood, Cummins. Pat Cummins has been in great form. Then we have Mitchell Starc, obviously, who we can't leave out. Then Marcus Stoinis, who could bowl a few overs. So your thoughts on the Australian pace bowling attack for this 2020 World Cup?
Well, it's good having the test attack in the T20 team. I think it's the first time against South Africa that they played all together in the same game in T20 cricket. Obviously, it's a quality attack. You've got Hazelwood and Starc. Starc's been a bit out of form lately. Hazelwood, obviously, a brilliant bowler. Same with Cummins as well. So it's a very quality attack. It's Australia's strongest attack. And, they're going to take a lot of wickets in this T20 World Cup, hopefully today and hopefully for the next few games as well.
Yeah. And also talk about Dan Christian. I know he got criticized a lot during the IPL with RCB and with his form, especially with the bat, if I'm not mistaken. Do you think Dan Christian will get a chance, especially in the next few matches? So your thoughts on Dan Christian being included in this side? Jack?
I don't know, to be honest. He may get a chance if Australia decide they want a bit of experience. He has experience. They want someone of his caliber in the team. I'm not really sure, to be honest, if he will get a go.
Of course,
he hasn't been playing well of late. He's been struggling. So I don't know if Australia will go with him in this T20 World Cup.
Yeah, Amaan, also thoughts on Dan Christian? Yeah, because of his recent form.
Of course, you need experience in your team, but also I think you can't also compare his IPL performance to what he's doing with Australia. That's one thing, but I feel like it's still T20s, and I don't think he's really going to perform if he like suddenly goes into the Australian team. I just don't have a feeling that they'd want to play him, even though he's got some experience. I don't think they want to play him because of his form right now.
Okay. So I also want to talk about the Australia spin attack, which Amaan is really excited about since he's a Chinaman bowler as well, and big fan of Adam Zampa and Michael Swipson. I think mainly Michael Swipson. So Jack,
I don't think it's Michael. I think it's Mitchell. I think
Mitchell. Swipson. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, Amaan knows more about the Australian players than I do. Yeah. Jack, thoughts on the spin attack of Australia, especially having Adam Zampa and Swipson and even Maxwell, who can definitely bowl his full quarter of overs, has been impressive for RCB also recent in the IPL. So, Jack, thoughts on the spin attack of Australia?
It's a pretty good attack that we've got. Adam Zampa has been doing really well in T20s over the last period. Glenn Maxwell can come in and bowl his offies, handy spinner himself. And Mitchell Swepson's been quite good as well. He's been knocking the door down at test level, but he's been doing quite well in T20 cricket. So hopefully for Australia, they can, especially Zampa and Swepson, can take some wickets if the tracks do become a bit difficult in this T20 World Cup. And hopefully for Australia, they can take wickets. And hopefully they can take wickets today against Sri Lanka.
Yeah. Also, I want to
Mhm.
talk about Glenn Maxwell. Obviously, he's been in terrific form recently for RCB as
Yeah,
well.
for
Has
RCB. Yeah.
scored over for 500 plus runs, then getting wickets as well. So Amanta, first of all, we'll
Yeah.
get your thoughts on Glenn Maxwell, who could potentially be a big player for
Yeah.
Australia, as he bats at
Mhm.
number 5 and he's all rounder. So thoughts
Yeah.
on Glenn Maxwell's recent form? Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think earlier he used to bat not aggressively but carelessly, and these days he's batting aggressively and very well. I've been very impressive. So I think he has a high chance of doing well for Australia. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to do very well for Australia because he's less careless and he's more. There's a difference between aggressiveness and carelessness. And early he was careless. Now he's more aggressive, and that's really good. And I'm very happy to see that. Even as a Sri Lankan, I'm very happy to see Glenn Maxwell play like this.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Jack, your thoughts on Glenn Maxwell's recent form, because he's just been a terrific all-rounder, especially for Australia and even especially for RCB, first of all, in the IPL. So, thoughts on his recent form in UAE? Yeah,
Yeah, he's been pretty good, Glenn. As you said in the IPL, he's done really well for RCB. I think we've seen a different Glenn Maxwell from
yeah,
years gone by. He's more responsible. He's more mature, and I think RCB are getting the best out of him in the IPL, and I think Australia are going to get the best out of him as well. Obviously, in the first game against South Africa, he did quite well with Steve Smith in that partnership to try and rescue the innings after we lost a few early wickets there. So, yeah, as I said before, he's a mature cricketer now, and hopefully we see the best of him. And I probably think he's going to be Australia's leading run scorer in this T20 World Cup, to be honest. He's
mm,
such in good form. And hopefully that continues for Australia, and hopefully he can get Australia over the line.
yeah. So I think we spoke a lot about Australia. Let's later talk about, obviously, we talk about the playing 11 of both Australia and Sri Lanka, and we'll go to the
Yeah.
preview. Let's go back to match 18. So I couldn't cover matches. I'm so
We
sorry
have so many
from
matches to
Monday due to
cover.
my busy schedule. Yeah. Let's go back to Tuesday's match. I mean, we had South Africa versus West Indies, which South Africa obviously won. But first of all, I want to talk about QDK's
QDK
take a
statement.
statement on Black Lives Matter controversy. Jack, first of all, I want to ask you on this. What's your thoughts on Quinton de Kock's statement towards this Black Lives Matter, and then later apologizing to the media and to the South African cricket board that he didn't take the knee, and he's going to take the knee for the Black Lives Matter movement. I know we are going out of cricket, out of the field, by the way, but QDK is a big player for South Africa, one of the senior
Mhm.
batsmen, and taking a stance like that towards the South Africa cricket board is a huge thing. So, Jack, thoughts on
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Well, my thoughts on that is, well, it's a very sensitive issue, as we know, with what happened with Quentin de Kock recently. Obviously, that's his choice that he made. Those are his
Yeah.
views, and that's what he believes in. And obviously, he came out and said, these are all the reasons why I didn't do it. So, everyone has their different views and opinions on these sensitive issues. So that's all I'm going to say on that. It's a very delicate issue, especially in South Africa, obviously, given what's happened there over the last few years in South Africa. So yeah, it's a delicate issue. Hopefully, it gets resolved, and hopefully everyone can move on and get on with the business of playing cricket. But it's a very delicate issue to talk about and deal with.
I think the direct hit here said from Aryan, obviously, he was taken by shock. I think when he got the news to take the knee, that is what he said in his statement as well. Yeah. I think obviously QDK was, I think it was going to be his last match, obviously, in international cricket. If he didn't actually obey the cricket South Africa, and he knows his chances would have been lost. I mean, especially if he goes against the South Africa cricket board. So, brave call from QDK. I mean, yeah, what to be done? But I mean, he has to sacrifice his own personal views towards South Africa Cricket Board. Aman, your thoughts on QDK as well on
Um.
statement?
Yeah. Yeah. Firstly, he should have kneeled down, okay? Because it's not setting good example to the other cricketers or like young cricketers. That's one thing. Yeah, he may have apologized, but yeah, the way he like just look at the words he said. If you can just read out the words he said. I was reading it this whole time, so I was so silent. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, he said, I did not in any way mean to
West
disrespect
West
anyone by not
Indies,
playing
yeah.
against West Indies, especially the West Indian team themselves. Maybe some people don't understand that we were just hit with this on Tuesday morning on the way to a game. I am deeply sorry for all the hurt, confusion, and anger that I have caused. I was quiet on this very important issue until now, but I feel I have to explain myself a little bit. For those who don't know, I come from a mixed race family. My half sisters are colored and my stepmom is black. For me, black lives have mattered since I was born, not just because there was an international moment. So I think this is very, very sensitive
Yeah,
from Hugh as
this makes you like after he said about his mom, then you're thinking, okay, he was not exactly disrespecting this. After
yeah.
he said that thing about his mom, then it does not seem like he was disrespecting anything.
Yeah.
Then it definitely
Let's
seemed like
just
that.
go on to the match. It's QDK's
Yeah.
opinion so far, as the direct it also says. Let's go to match 18 of the 2020 World Cup. Yeah. So it was South Africa versus West Indies, a convincing win for South Africa, by the way. Um, so Jack, thoughts on especially the first innings by West Indies, and especially with West Indies' performances in the 2020 World Cup so far. 55 all out against uh, England, and then right now, struggling against South Africa as well and lost the match. So, how concerned are you about West Indies performances? They lost two warm-up games, and yeah. So, Jack, your thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a disappointing performance from the West Indies. They sort of got their tactics wrong with the bat. It was sort of either attack or defend. Lendl Simmons chewed up a lot of deliveries, 16 off 35, and he probably put the West Indies on the back foot early, put them under pressure, and the other batsmen had to make up for the runs that he didn't score. Probably because they got bowled out against England for 55. They wanted to be conservative and balance that with attack, but they got it wrong. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just age. I think the West Indies are just getting old.
That's
Gale,
true.
Russell, Bravo, even Simmons, even Pollard. They're just getting old. They're an aging side. They haven't quite hit their straps in this T20 World Cup. The first two games of the group Super 12 stage has been poor. The warm-up games weren't any good either. So it's going to be very tough for the West Indies to qualify for the semis. It's going to be very hard indeed for them to make it.
Yeah. Aman, your thoughts on West Indies' performance, especially with the bat, especially when they have really experienced
Yeah.
players and a lot of players who have,
Yeah.
who are in that team who won the 2016 2020 World Cup. So, thoughts on the West Indies team so
Firstly,
far,
yeah.
2020 World Cup?
Firstly,
Yeah.
just throw away my words in the preview of the Super 12. Just throw them away. Don't listen to them. Anyway.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Just forget when I said that West Indies are going to win the world. Just forget that, okay? Forget
Okay,
it.
sure, no problem.
Okay,
Yeah,
because firstly against England, the 55 all out, I feel like so many of their players, which something that just gets me a bit, let's say, I don't know, confused or something like that, mysterious, suspicious, whatever.
yeah,
It gets me suspicious that how a lot of these players, like I know some of them aren't even performing for like a franchise, but somebody like Pollard and those players are performing for their franchises. Let's look through. Russell, of course, didn't get to play for KKR. Hetmeyer a bit well. These players have performed for their franchise. What are they doing for West Indies? And do you, not to go off topic, but do you think there's a reason between that or for that?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think experience does cost. Experience should guide this team, especially we know how CSK also does
Yeah,
in franchise cricket, but you never can compare franchise cricket with world cricket. I mean, right
yeah,
now,
of
West
course.
Indies are not gelling as a team, in my opinion. They're just out of sorts because we saw again
Yeah.
in the Australian series and in the Australia series, especially, they were experimenting the team, and in the Pakistan series as well, and changing the batting order always, and they weren't sticking to that one particular order compared to other teams. And I think that is the big reason why West Indies has been struggling. And I mean, Jack, your thoughts also on this middle order, especially. I mean, Russell, Pollard, Gale batting at number 4, and not giving a chance to Roston Chase also. Meanwhile, in this team, when I mean, you cannot obviously put the universe boss out, but I mean, he's obviously 42. He's done a lot for West Indies cricket, but what's happening with West Indies cricket right now? I mean, is there? I mean, are they just underperforming right now in the 2020 World Cup, or are they not used to the conditions? So your thoughts on that? Yeah.
Probably a bit of a mixture, really. As I said before, they're just probably you come to that stage where the team's just aging, and they're not what they used to be like in 2016 when they won. They obviously want to go back to back and win. It's very hard to win back to back titles in a T20 World Cup or a 50 over World Cup. And for the West Indies, all those players have aged 5 years. So, Russell, Pollard, Gale, Simmons, Bravo, especially. It's probably going to be Bravo's, Gale's last World Cup for the West Indies. So there's going to be a bit of transition there. They've just underperformed, really. Simple as that. They just haven't performed well.
And talking about South Africa bowling attack as well. I mean, Shamsi was really expensive that day, 0 for 37. But especially the bowlers, and especially death bowling of Noike and Rabada. Amaan, thoughts on these two Delhi Capital boys causing so much trouble, especially in that Australian game as well, and then winning. In that Australian game, Amaan, thoughts on Noike and Rabada?
Yeah, they've definitely been brilliant. One thing is where this bowling duo is used to playing with each other as they played for DC, and in UAE, that's two things where they will play well as probably the best fast bowling duo in the South African team right now. Yeah, brilliant performance. Very good performances. Hopefully they can do well for the coming matches in the World Cup.
Yes, and we spoke about the South African pace attack also, and especially Jack, about Keshra Maharaj. I mean, first game as captain, I think in the Sri Lanka series they won. They managed to win the series as well. So Maharaj's inclusion in the 2020 World Cup, in the 2020 format when he was consistent with Test and ODI as well. So thoughts on Maharaj's bowling, especially where since he has been given his debut for South Africa. So thoughts on Keshram Maharaj, because he's been fabulous in form, especially playing 5 2020 matches and picking up. I mean, he picked up 2 crucial wickets. So thoughts on that? Yeah.
I think he's been a good bowler for a period of time. We've seen that in his performances in Tests and ODIs, and now he gets his opportunity in T20s. He's doing a good job. He's bowling well. He's adding a lot to the South African attack with the spin department. He's complementing Shamsi quite well. Good signs for South Africa, and especially for Maharaj, and hopefully for South Africa, he can take a few more wickets to finish off this T20 World Cup.
Yeah. And I think South Africa's second innings, beautiful from Adam Markram, actually. Brilliant form. Vander Dusen and Markram. I think Vander Dusen scored 100 against Pakistan in the warm-ups. And then Markram also contributing with the half century. So thoughts on these two, especially Vander Dusen and Markram and their partnership, especially Jack, first of all. I mean, I'm bringing South Africa home and convincing win for South Africa, by the way, winning by 10 wickets. Yeah. So thoughts on the middle order, especially Markram's recent form, especially with South Africa in the 2020 format, and then Vander Dusen as well.
They've done pretty well. Obviously, Vander Dusen's been performing well for South Africa in ODIs and T20s for a while now. So great to see him performing well still. Adam Markram, I was impressed with him in the Australian game. He played some nice shots. He caught a wonderful catch there to get rid of Steve Smith in that match. That's good for South Africa that he's in form, and so is Vander Dusen. Obviously, South Africa's batting is not quite as strong, whereas their bowling's quite strong.
Guys, could you give me a second, guys? Sorry, Amaan, could you continue the conversation for a moment? Give me a second. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Jack, keep going.
As I said, it's great for South Africa that Markram and Van der Dussen are in form, and hopefully for South Africa they can continue that form for the rest of this T20 World Cup.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pawan has gone, so I can't go any further than this. That's our only problem because Pawan is screen sharing, so I can't go to the next match. Pawan, are you there? No, he's not.
Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah, I had to go for a second. Yeah.
We couldn't keep going
Shankar.
because Jack had finished, and then we had
Oh yes,
changed
I'm
the
so sorry.
thing.
Yeah, Shankar over here says Shamsi fails against top teams but takes wickets against weaker teams. I wouldn't say. I mean, West Indies. I wouldn't say that they're a weaker team right now. Jack, if I'm right now. I mean, Shamsi did take wickets against Sri Lanka as well. So thoughts on Tabrish's Shamsi's form recently, especially. I mean, yeah, on the comment given by Shankar. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be. I don't know. His form has been a bit inconsistent, you have to say, at times. It's just the way it is in cricket. Bowlers, you lose a bit of rhythm, or you just do better against a team, really, one specific team. So that's probably what he's going through at the moment. But I've seen a little bit of him. He's quite a good bowler when he gets it right.
Yeah. And thoughts on the West Indies bowling attack? I mean, Hayden Walsh, we thought that he's a brilliant spinner, and Amaan, I think he was one of the best spinners for West Indies. He performed well in the West Indies conditions, and especially Andre Russell, being experienced bowler, going for 10 per over. Dwayne Bravo struggling, even though he's not, he's economical, not picking up wickets. None of these bowlers, and Ravi Rampal also back as an experienced bowler.
Very unimpressive.
So you backed West Indies to reach the semi-finals before. I don't want to take this, but yeah, what's happened?
I backed
with
them to win the
West?
World Cup.
Yeah, but your thoughts on this bowling attack, especially struggling against South Africa as well, and then worse against England as well. Even though they picked up 4 wickets, they couldn't win the match. So thoughts on that? Yeah.
Well, it's a concern, really, because you've got to take wickets. They were able to take a wicket in this match and then a run out for the 2 wickets. It's a concern. I think Jason Holder's coming into the squad because I think McCoy's injured. So that will certainly boost their bowling attack. But it was just a poor performance with the ball. They couldn't take wickets. They couldn't put South Africa under pressure. And in the end, South Africa cruised home. So the West Indies, they need to sort something out quickly with their bowling.
Yeah. So let's wrap up that match and then go to the next match, which is New Zealand versus Pakistan. Really exciting encounter over there. Asif Ali and Shoaib Malik obviously taking the 2 underrated players, taking Pakistan home. And Haris Rauf, meanwhile, also was criticized a lot of his recent performances, delivering in that match and picking up the man of the match with 4 wickets. So Jack, thoughts on New Zealand. I mean, they did struggle against Pakistan. I would say scoring a 134 for 8, but Pakistan's fielding especially. So thoughts on the match, Jack? Yeah.
Well, my thoughts on the match, it was a pretty good performance from Pakistan. As we know, with Pakistan, they can be a bit inconsistent. That's been their problem over the years. But they played well against India to win by 10 wickets. They've done well to back it up and win this match against New Zealand. So that's the 2 toughest teams out of the way. Obviously, they've still got Afghanistan to come and Namibia and Scotland. So I think Pakistan, after these 2 wins, will easily go through. And this will boost their confidence going forward.
Sorry, guys. I want to show this catch of Devon Conway. So I don't care if there's what a catch from Devon Conway, by the way. This electric catch from Devon Conway. I think it was the catch of the tournament so far. Jack, your thoughts on this, because it's a terrific catch from Conway. Yeah.
Yes, it was. As you can see there, it's very important to know where the ball is and obviously move into the right position. And certainly Devon Conway did that there. Obviously, I think Aiden Markram's catch in that match against South Africa and Australia is certainly up there for catch of the tournament. But Devon Conway and Aiden Markram are probably the 2 main contenders for catch of the tournament.
I agree. Aman, your thoughts on that catch, especially, and then Akil Hussain also catching getting a brilliant catch off his bowling as well in that same match. Also, if I'm not, yeah, sorry, against England, yeah, in the 2020 World Cup, yeah. But
Yeah.
Aman, thoughts on the catch,
Um.
yeah.
Yeah. What a very good catch from Devon Conway. He he nearly missed it, and if I think if it won, it would have been a four. So, and
Hmm.
I don't know how he literally flew into the air that way. He literally flew like that. It was just brilliant stuff from Devon Conway.
Yeah.
Paul, stop changing the color.
I know I wanted to change the Pakistan color over there, but yeah, Jack, I wanted to talk about Martil Guptill and Darren Mitchell. Are you impressed with the opening pair so far for New Zealand? Do you think that a team Seifert can open with Martil Guptill, or are you okay with this current New Zealand opening pair right now? Did you
Um,
expect Mitchell to open in the first place for New Zealand?
no, I didn't. I probably expected either Devon Conway to open with Martin Guptill. I think in the Australia series that New Zealand played early this year, he opened the batting and did quite well. I would prefer to have Devon Conway open than Daryl Mitchell with Martin Guptill, I think, in my
Hmm.
opinion. But that's what New Zealand have gone with. That's their combination. They want Guptill and Mitchell to open, okay, and have Conway back down the order for some stability and support with Kane Williamson, obviously. So I would prefer Conway to open instead.
And talk about Jimmy Neesham as well coming batting at number 4. I mean, he usually bats at number 6 and 7. But thoughts on that move by Kane Williamson at that time? Was it necessary? I mean,
Yeah.
especially when Devon Conway was doing well, he's supposed to bat at number 4, right? So thoughts on changing this middle order of New Zealand, and is there a concern right now for New Zealand playing against India on Sunday? What changes should New Zealand make actually for the Sunday's match, especially their batting order? Jack. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been shuffling it around, haven't they? They got to really settle on what they want with their batting, really, because you can't do that in a tournament. Keep changing and chopping the batting order because that doesn't bring cohesion or unity within the order, and you want consistency. So they've got to settle after this game against Pakistan. They've got to settle on who they want in those key positions in the middle order, in which order. So yeah, it's a bit of a musical chairs there with New Zealand. So they've got to really settle their batting order.
But how impressed have the Pakistan bowling been, especially Shine Shah Afridi last match getting 3 crucial wickets in that India match, and then Haris Rauf this match getting 4 wickets. I think very underrated.
1 second,
I mean,
please.
yeah, sure. Haris Rauf being an underrated bowler for Pakistan. So, Jack, thoughts on this Pakistan bowling attack and so far? And do you think they're favorites right now, as Venuja here says? Are Pakistan favorites for this 2020 World Cup right now with their recent form?
Well, first of all, with their bowling, they've bowled really well. Afridi, especially the match against India, he bowled exceptionally well. Set the tone for India. For Pakistan in that match to bowl India. Keep them to a reasonable target to chase. And also this match against New Zealand, they all did their role. They all took wickets. Ralph was impressive. So it's very good. You talk about them being the favourites to win the tournament. I think they are a chance to win Pakistan. They could be the unexpected winner. And we see a different Pakistan in this T20 World Cup. I'm seeing a different Pakistan, a different mentality, different mindset, different attitude. They've got Matthew Hayden in there as batting consultant. Maybe he's got something to do with Pakistan's great form. It's only 2 games. They'll easily go through, I think, to the semis now. You think the game against Afghanistan, they can afford to drop that, lose it, because that could be tough. The other 2 against Namibia and Scotland, they should win those easily and should go through. So they're a good chance to go through and hopefully win the T20 World Cup.
I think Shankar here says must see how Pakistan do when they bat first. I mean, both instances they have chased the target. So yeah, and with Dew also, I mean, Dew has been also a factor. I mean, bowlers also struggle at the end, and I think Pakistan have recently done well. I mean, if they bowl second, I would say Pakistan have a challenge. I mean, itself, if they have to bat first. So, Aman, do you think that could be a factor that I mean, would Pakistan struggle if they actually bowl second with these due factors in UAE, or do you think these bowlers can definitely cope
Um,
with the due
I
factor
think
as
I
well?
think I think they'll keep going like this. I feel like it's not the dew. There's nothing like the pitch is not helping them at all these days. I think they're actually doing well. I think even if they bat first, they're still going to do well.
Hmm. Yeah. And talking about Pakistan's batting as well. And these two, especially Shoaib Malik coming as a replacement for Shoaib Maqsood, and Asif Ali being a finisher right now, 27 of 12, 225 strike rate. Very underrated. I mean, Asif Ali was criticized a lot, especially with the Pakistan media and I mean with other cricket analysts as well. Jack, thoughts on Shoaib Malik and Asif Ali finishing games for Pakistan, and how crucial have both these two been also for Pakistan? I mean, in this match, speaking about this match.
Yeah, obviously, I haven't seen a much of Asif Ali, but obviously, Shoaib Malik, I have seen a lot of. An experienced campaigner, and Pakistan needs someone who's got that experience, along with Mohammad Hafiz in the batting order. So
Yeah.
it was good that he was there in that situation of the match to guide Pakistan over the line. And Ali supported him well in that partnership. Batting's all about partnership. You need a good partnership and a good understanding between two of you out there in the middle. So they certainly did that well. So hopefully for Pakistan, they can continue that in the next few games of this T20 World Cup. Very important for them to build that consistency and to back up these performances.
I really agree. And especially Mohammad Rizwan, especially half century in the last match. This match he scored a 33. Both Rizwan and Baba Azam finishing the game against India the last match. So how impressive have both these openers been? And I mean, they've just been terrific so far for Pakistan in this 2020 World Cup. So Aman, thoughts on Rizwan and Baba so far in this 2020 World Cup, especially Rizwan.
Rizwan has been definitely very good. He did well against India. Now he's doing well again, and he did well against Pakistan. Against New Zealand against Pakistan. Well, yeah, I hope he can continue this. I feel like he's gonna have a good World Cup. Especially because he's got some easy teams coming up. Of course, you got Afghanistan, Scotland, and Namibia. So I feel like now Mohammad Rizwan is going to have a really good World Cup. Yeah.
Hmm. And about New Zealand's bowling, let's move to New Zealand's bowling. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say they're too bad actually. I mean,
Bad.
Tacna was a bit expensive perhaps, but Pakistan were too good that day. Jack, thoughts on the New Zealand bowling attack that day? Do you think somebody could have impressed you that day, or whether anyone was out of bad touch? I mean, had an off day. I mean, New Zealand bowlers that day.
Yeah, they probably had an off day. T20 cricket for bowlers, you either have a good day or a bad day. You take wickets or go for a lot of runs. And they went for a lot of runs, and usually at Sharjah, it's usually a fast scoring ground. So obviously the pitches are starting to produce scores in this T20 World Cup at Sharjah. So yeah, probably an off day with the ball. Probably didn't quite execute their plans, weren't quite consistent, didn't build the pressure, didn't take wickets like Pakistan did throughout the innings to put them on the back foot, which you need to do in T20 cricket, which unsettles the momentum of the batting side. So yeah, just probably an off day from New Zealand with the ball.
And as we can see the statistics as well, I think Haris Rauf, two
Boris
wickets
Rao.
of right-handers of short length,
Yeah, he's been so
three wickets
impressive
in
this
fact,
World Cup. He has
and
been
then one
so
wicket of
impressive.
full length. Yeah.
He's been very impressive, Haris Rao. Even against India,
Hmm.
he's impressive.
And Mohammad Rizwan also with playing most of his shots off the offside. I think 21 runs in fact, and most productive shots, slog shots. So I think he's shadow mirroring his shots as well. In that Indian match we saw how he has pre-planned his shots exactly as how he played in that India match before playing the match. He has pre-planned all his shots against India, and somehow it has worked, because ICC, I think they showed a video of Rizwan pre-planning against India, and it has worked really well for.
Definitely worked. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely worked. How
So
many
let's go
matches left
to
do we have?
yesterday's matches. Let's quickly
Oh
go to
yes.
yesterday's matches
Uh,
before going for
Bangladesh versus England firstly.
yeah. Let's quickly go
Jason
through
Roy,
England versus
very well
Bangladesh
played.
very quickly. Yeah.
Jason Roy.
Nothing much to talk about Bangladesh. I mean,
Yeah.
they've been really
Just
disappointing.
terrible batting. Absolutely terrible batting. Yeah, that's just terrible.
Jack, why has Bangladesh actually underperformed? I mean, against Sri Lanka, they did score 170, but they couldn't chase that target. I mean, the 170 target, but against England, they really struggled and it's only getting 124. So, thoughts on that? Thoughts on the Bangladesh batting innings?
Yeah, it was disappointing, as you said. Some batsmen gave away their wicket cheaply, played reckless shots, didn't take calculated risks. They were pretty reckless. Probably the pressure of being in such good T20 form. They won against New Zealand, they won against Australia at home. So coming into this T20 World Cup, everyone thought they would do well. They lost their first game against Scotland, and they were able to win the next few and qualify. So it's just probably the expectations and the weight of pressure on their shoulders, and they're probably not coping with that well. And against England, they're a quality team. England, their bowling attack's been good. We saw that against the West Indies. They did well with the ball again, and Bangladesh couldn't really get going with the bat at all in this match. It was a poor performance, as you said.
Yeah, and especially one player that has been underrated and has been criticized a lot, being selected in this playing 15 spot for England, Tymal Mills, getting 3 wickets. I know it was off the, I mean, the lower middle order and the bowlers that he picked wickets off, but at an economy of 6.75, his first match also in UAE. Saman, thoughts on Tymal Mills being back in this side for England and being
Yeah.
underrated ball, obviously can
Mm-hmm.
bowl at 140, 150 kilometers
Yeah,
power.
he
Yeah.
has been another very impressive player. Tymon Mills. He's done very well so far. And again, of course, it's not going to be easy matches left for Tymon Mills. So I hope he can keep this form going. Except for Sri Lanka and Bangladesh is. Oh no, he played Bangladesh. Except for Sri Lanka, it's not going to be much easy matches. So yeah, hopefully he can keep going.
And Jack, your thoughts on Moeen Ali? I mean, Rashid Khan has been expensive. Adil Rashid, sorry, Adil Rashid. Last match, he picked up 4 wickets. This time, I mean, Moeen Ali has been consistent in both his matches so far, and getting 2 wickets again in this match. I mean, he was impressive for CSK as well in the IPL. So, thoughts on Moeen Ali's bowling performances so far for England? Yeah, in the 2020 World Cup. Yeah.
Well, he's been pretty good. He bowled well against the West Indies, set the tone there with the ball. In this game against Bangladesh, he set the tone again. So Owen Morgan can rely on him to take wickets, and he's got that confidence. I think probably when he announced his retirement from Test cricket, that's probably freed him up to express himself and put everything into ODIs and T20s now. We're seeing the results in the first 2 games for England with his great bowling. So that's good signs for England, good signs for Moeen Ali that he's bowling well and in good form.
Mm-hmm.
But one player that has not impressed me is Shakib Al Hassan's batting has been
Yeah,
awful.
he has.
I mean, even Litton Das, he's another question to be. I mean, a question to be played. I don't know why he's playing in the first place. I mean, after those 2 drop catches against Sri Lanka, and not being impressive. So, Aman, your thoughts on Litton Das and Shakib Al Hassan? Yeah, and their
Yeah.
form. I mean, Shakib has been good with the ball, but with the bat, Shakib's
Yeah,
batting form hasn't been.
Shakib has batted really badly in this super super 12. Even in the qualifiers actually he's batted badly. Shakib and moving on to Rishon Das. Yeah, he has also done very badly. Of course his fight against Lahir Kumara was a bit enjoying to watch, but yes, his batting has been bad. A lot of most of the Bangladesh batsmen are failing. I'm not going to say all. Mahmudullah did well, you could say, but a lot of them are failing.
Yeah. And talk about the England batting, by the way, Jason Roy has been terrific for Sunrisers Hyderabad for 2 innings, if I'm not mistaken. And once again, scoring that half
6-1, yeah.
century for 61 to make England win that match. So, Jack, your thoughts on Jason Roy's recent form? I mean, for SRH also, he was good for 1 or 2 innings, if I'm not mistaken, replacing David Warner as opener. and now he's doing the same for England as well. So thoughts on Jason Roy as well, and him obviously getting the man of the match as well for this match.
Yeah, he's been pretty good, Jason Roy. He's a very dangerous opening batsman once he gets going. In the IPL, he played well, coming in for David Warner, as you said, to replace him. In this match, his innings set the tone, really, and pretty much got England over the line, really. So that's good signs for England that he's firing on all cylinders, and hopefully he can score many more runs in the next few games, which are going to be very important for England's chances.
Yeah. And we say, as we can see also over here as well, 27 runs, I think straight drive is his most productive shot. Most of his runs are off the offside. Even the leg side is not bad. I mean, yeah. And then Tymal Mills, meanwhile, got 1 wicket off a Yorker, and so many variations of Tymal Mills as well, and getting 3 wickets, even though it's the lower middle order and the bowlers at the end. His economy also was not bad. And Liam Livingston as well, contributing 3 overs, 2 for 15 and 2 wickets of right-handers. So yeah, great match and good win for England in my opinion. Yeah. Yes, and let's go to the last match, which was Scotland versus Namibia.
Namibia.
And real
Brilliant
upset,
bowling from Namibia.
real upset, which I don't think anyone expected Namibia to come to the main group, Super 12. I think even Jack didn't expect, right, for Namibia to perform this well so far. I mean, to even qualify to the Super 12s, first of all. Yeah. Thoughts on Namibia actually, because they've been the um, package, I mean, so far in the 2020 World Cup. So, yeah. Jack, thoughts on Namibia? Yes.
Yeah, they've done pretty well, haven't they? Probably, sort of underdogs, really. No one expected them to win a game or even qualify for the Super 12, but it's good to see them here. And they have been the story of the T20 World Cup this so far. And hopefully they can win a few more games, cause a few more upsets like they did against Scotland in this match. But no, it's been good from them, and it's good to see them here. And it's great to see Namibia playing cricket and developing well.
Rohan over here says Namibia has been the story so far for this 2020 World Cup. Yeah, Jack, I think Jack definitely agrees with that. I think for sure, and even I agree. And Aman, your thoughts on this Namibian, especially the bowling attack yesterday? I mean, Ruben Trupperman
I
taking
can't hear
three
you.
wickets of 1 over, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday. How good was he, especially in the first over, getting 3 wickets out? I mean, and they were two for, I think they
I
were
can't
2
hear
for 3,
you.
if I'm not mistaken, in 1 over. Hello. Could you hear me? Yeah. So I think Aman left, but Jack, thoughts on Ruben Truppelman, especially in the first over, getting 3 wickets of left-handers. I mean, sorry, as a left-arm pace bowler, getting 3 wickets in 1 over. So thoughts on his bowling performance yesterday?
Hey, bowled well. Set the turn for Scotland. For Namibia,
Namibia.
obviously, put Scotland on the back foot with his great bowling. Obviously, you haven't seen a lot of him, as we have
Yeah.
with these Namibia players. We haven't seen a lot of him, but he's got some serious pace and some serious talent and skills with the ball. And we saw that in this match against Scotland. 3 for 17 from 4 overs is a great spell of bowling. And a real talent for Namibia there.
And David Weiss, meanwhile, with the bat and ball, he was impressing all of us in the qualifiers, especially winning against Netherlands and Ireland, if I'm not mistaken. And then I think he's obviously played for South Africa before in the 2020. As a South African player before. So thoughts on David Weiss as well, Jack. I mean, he's been absolutely terrific with Namibia as well. So yeah, thoughts on David Weiss, Jack.
Yeah, he's been doing well with both bat and ball, as you said. He played for South Africa, now plays for Namibia. So it's great to have someone who's played international cricket pass on his knowledge and wisdom to these guys who haven't played a lot of international cricket in Namibia. So that's been a great asset for Namibia there. Yeah, he's just doing his role, really, with both bat and ball, just getting on with it, doing his role, and he's doing it well.
And talk about Scotland. I mean, Scotland did really well against Bangladesh, but since that match, I mean, Scotland has. I really don't know. I mean, Scotland so far in this 2020 World Cup, they were expected to beat this Namibia side, And the top order, I mean, this obviously Triple got 3 wickets off the first over. But this top, I mean, the middle order, especially only Leaks and Chris Greaves, especially his innings against Bangladesh also made them win. I mean, especially the middle order of Scotland has won the matches so far in this qualifiers as well. And in the qualifiers so far. So thoughts, are you a bit concerned about the Scottish? I mean, they won't get a, do you think they'll get a chance to win again in the 2020 World Cup, Jack?
Yeah, well, they've got some tough games. They've got India, New Zealand, Afghanistan, Pakistan, so it doesn't look good. As you said, everyone expected them to win against Namibia. Unfortunately, that expectation and pressure got to them probably. Probably said, well, we should win this game. You never go into a game of cricket saying we're going to win, because cricket's unpredictable, as we all know. You've got to play the situation. You just got to focus on doing your job with both bat and ball. Unfortunately, the start with the bat, 3 down for 2. When you lose wickets in the power play, the stats say in T20 cricket, you're not going to win the game. And that's what happened, because that puts you on the back foot early. The other batsman has to consolidate, chew up deliveries, therefore you're not scoring. And therefore they only posted 109, which is never going to be enough in a T20 match. And Namibia were a bit shaky with the bat as well. But they were able to get the runs in the end. So for Scotland, it's not looking good for them. But hopefully they can improve a few areas, and hopefully they can be competitive in the last few games for them in this T20 World Cup.
I have to go in like 10 minutes, so...
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, Aman. Definitely, we quickly wrap up this game and then talk about Australia versus Sri Lanka. The preview, obviously, quickly. Yeah, Namibia. They're batting obviously JJ Smith and JJ Smith, especially. He was, I mean, the player to watch out. I think for Namibia, especially with the ball and the bat. So, one thoughts on JJ Smith? If you have seen him, I mean, this match.
Yeah, he was definitely brilliant. 32 in 23. Of course, he didn't score quickly, but yes, he played very well and let's just say that Namibia, they were looking very likely to win after the first innings, but after the first overs, they were a bit wobbly, but then JJ Smith brought them back. And wait, what? France, I thought his name was Haloa France, not Picky France.
Picky France, yeah.
His name is Haloa France. I don't think it's Picky France. I think it's Haloa France.
Let's check. Heloi, Nafidi, France, yeah, you're right on that. Yeah, I think that I don't know why they're calling him that. I have no idea of Namibia, so yeah, that much. I've been watching Namibia cricket, especially in the 2020 World Cup, but not had so much of a clue of these players that much. Yeah, and the Scottish bowlers. I mean, Jack, thoughts on the Scottish bowling lineup?
They did fight
Who
back.
impressed you and who disappointed you of the Scottish bowling lineup, as you can see?
Well, I think they did an okay job in this match. They were able to take wickets and put Namibia under some sort of pressure. Unfortunately, couldn't finish off the job, and Namibia got the runs. But I haven't really seen a lot of them, obviously, the Scottish bowlers. But I thought Leask, he's been pretty good. He's impressed me. I think he's a spinner, if I'm not mistaken.
He's a spinner,
so he's done quite well for Scotland. I think he was the one who impressed, 2 for 12 from his 2 overs. That's pretty good. But the rest of them, a bit inconsistent, a bit poor with their performance with the ball in this match.
Yeah. So let's wrap up the post-match analysis of all 4 matches and go ahead with today's match, Australia versus Sri Lanka, which is obviously the big game and which everyone is looking out for. Obviously, which is why it's the main topic of today. Obviously, sorry, I spelled Australia wrong. Yeah. But thoughts on today's match, Jack, and who's going to be playing 11 for Australia?
Well, my thoughts on the match today. Well, it's a big game for both teams. Certainly in this tough group, in group number 1. Obviously, both teams have won their first game, obviously. So both teams will be looking for a win and go 2 up in this T20 World Cup. A playing 11 for Australia today, if it was If I had that choice, probably keep the same 11. I think it's very important to have that cohesion and continuity in the playing 11, because Australia's problem has been consistency. They need to build that consistency. So I would keep the same 11 from the last game. Depends on conditions. If it's going to spin more, maybe they'll play an extra spinner. Probably Swepson to partner Sampa or something, or an extra batter or something. So they can make that decision. I don't know who they'll bring in. But for me, I think keep the same 11 to build that consistency at the end of the day, because that's very important for Australia, because they need to do that heading into this match, which is a big game for them against Sri Lanka.
Aman, thoughts on Australian squad? Would you change your playing 11 for Australia, or would you stick with the same playing 11 against South Africa? Especially because this is going to be taking place in Dubai. But I think Australia in the previous matches against South Africa, it was in Dubai as well. So would you stick with the same playing 11, or would you make any changes?
I might stick with the same playing 11. One reason is because they did well against South Africa in Dubai, and it's this 11 that did well. So most likely, at least I think so, that they're going to do well again. So I think I'm going to stick with the same 11. Sri Lanka, let's see, maybe take Vinora Fernando out. I'm not sure.
I think Mahesh Theekshana is going to be back for Sri Lanka, by the way, and Mickey said that he is going to play against Australia. So that's confirmed for today that Mahesh Theekshana will be playing. So he's a mystery spinner, and I think Jack, you must have seen of Mahesh Theekshana before, mystery spinner, who I think Australian players might have to watch out for, especially in the middle overs. So how do you think the Australian batsmen are going to face against Banidu Hasaranga, who's the number 2 2020 ball, I think, right now, and Mahesh Theekshana as well, the spinners of Sri Lanka, the Sri Lankan spin attack? So how do you think, especially the middle order, especially Maxwell, Stoinis, and how are they going to face, and especially Matthew Wade as well, how are they going to face? Do you think they are going to do well against the spinners, or do you think the Sri Lankan spinners can get hold of these batsmen?
Well, Australia's problem is playing against spin. We struggled in Bangladesh against spin, so it's no secret that obviously Sri Lanka are going to target Australia with the spinners, as you said. For the batsmen in the middle order, they probably have to be watchful, pick their right moments to attack, make sure they're watching that ball closely and reacting to it. So I think just doing the basics, really, when you play against spin. That's what Australia need to do. But I won't be surprised if they do struggle against them, because as I said before, we always struggle against spin. Every Australian batsman struggles against spin when the ball turns a bit. So I won't be surprised if they struggle a little bit and the Sri Lankan bowlers do well against them. But for Australia, it's just about doing the basics against spin, and hopefully they can nullify the spinners from Sri Lanka.
I agree. And do you have any thoughts on Sri Lanka, by the way, the playing 11? Would you stick with the same 11, or would you make a couple of changes for the Sri Lankan team for tomorrow? For today, obviously, in 2 hours, in 1 hour's time,
I would probably stick with the same 11, just like Australia. It's important to build that consistency with the team. And for Sri Lanka, they look like a pretty settled side. I wouldn't be making too many changes. Depends on conditions if they want to bring back someone in. So I'll keep the same 11 for Sri Lanka just to keep that consistency, because they're gelling quite well, and you don't want to disturb that. As soon as you make too many changes, then you start losing games and being inconsistent. So same 11 for Sri Lanka, I think, for this game.
And Jack, who's the player to watch out for Australia? Who the Sri Lankan players might struggle against? Who do you think the player is to watch out for today, and who do you think who's going to be the man? The player who's going to bring Australia to win. If you predict that Australia is going to win, who's going to be the player that's going to make that happen?
Well, probably Glenn Maxwell, maybe. Obviously, very important if Australia's setting a total, that he gets going and scoring runs, and same if we're chasing a difficult score as well. So I think Glenn Maxwell could be the player to watch out for today if he gets going.
Aman, meanwhile, for Sri Lanka, who do you think the player to watch out for Sri Lanka, by the way? against Australia.
Yeah, of course, it's going to be Chamika Karunaratne, but somebody else is one into Hasaranga. Of course, he's had such a good World Cup so far. He's done well with the bat occasionally, especially the match against Ireland in the qualifiers, and he's done brilliant, absolutely brilliantly with the ball. So it's going to be firstly, it's going to be one into Hasaranga. Yeah, player to watch out for Australia for Jack.
I think for me, I'm going to go with Mahesh Theekshana. He's the mystery spinner, and I think Australian batsmen, especially the middle order, might struggle against the Theekshana with his googlies and his top deliveries. He's been impressive so far, so I think he's a player to watch. When it comes to batting, I think today I think Avishka might come to form. In my opinion, I think he'll be back. And
But
I
he's so
think
inconsistent, he'll perform and then the next 3 or 5 matches he won't perform. That's the thing. He's so inconsistent.
yeah. Also, Jack, about Josh English, I think the other wicket keeper, except the second wicket keeper for Matthew Wade in
I have to
replacement.
go
Do
in.
you think?
I have to go in about 2 minutes. So.
Okay, so we are going to wrap up very soon. Actually, Aman. Okay, in like 3 or 4 minutes. Yeah. So do you think English might get a chance for today's match? Maybe.
Maybe I would like to see him play because he's in good form. But as I said, it's important to keep the same 11. But Australia may play him. He's been in good form in the 100 and the Blast in England. If he does play, then he probably keeps and probably, in my opinion, probably opens the batting maybe. So what do you do with Finch and Warner there? You either drop Warner or you put Finch down the order to bat at number 4 or 5 or 6 or something. So, I would like to see him get a go. I don't think he'll get a go in this game. He may get a go in the next game against England, maybe, for Australia.
Yeah. And Jack, lastly, if Australia wins the toss, would you bat first or would you field first, depending on the pitch? Especially with the dew factor, most probably could be affecting. Do you think that Australia might field first for today's game?
I think knowing probably Aaron Finch may want to field first because this is a night game. So that dew will come in and it will definitely help the batsman. Obviously, the ball will skid on and easier to score runs. And for the bowlers, it's a nightmare to hold the ball because it's like a piece of soap, really. It's slippery with that dew. So I think he'll definitely bowl first and back the bowlers like they did against South Africa to get Sri Lanka out for a low score, and hopefully the batsman can finish off the job. So I think he'll probably bowl first.
Aman, do you think that Sri Lanka can win today, or do you think Australia are going to?
Today, I normally don't back Sri Lanka, but I'm backing Sri Lanka today, and I think we're going to win today.
Yeah. I want to discuss with Jack about Australia's chances of getting into the semi-finals. Do you think with the upcoming fixtures that Australia could get into the semi-finals along with England? Do you think Australia can do it somehow this time? Especially with South Africa also coming up, I think their fixtures. If we go through their fixtures, I think their first 4 games are in Dubai, if I'm not mistaken, and that's a big advantage for Australia, in my opinion. So. Thoughts on that? Yeah.
Well,
sorry,
obviously
the first
for
game was in
Australia,
Abu Dhabi. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Their first game was in Abu Dhabi, and I think 3 games in a row. I think it's in Dubai. So thoughts on that? Yeah.
Well, obviously that's pretty good for Australia. Obviously, they don't have to travel to Sharjah or back to Abu Dhabi again, and obviously they'll get familiar with this surface in Dubai, which will put them in good stead. With the West Indies struggling to qualify. You think being 0-2, it's very hard to come back from that. They'll probably have to win their 3 last games to qualify, the West Indies. So for Australia, they are a chance, but I am concerned with the batting, if I'm honest, because you've got to score big runs in crunch games. These next 3 games, you've got Sri Lanka today, which is a danger game. The game against England, that's going to be tough on Saturday. They're not going to be easy to beat England. They're a very good T20 side. Bangladesh, they may win that. Bangladesh have been inconsistent, as we've seen. So if they win probably 2 of those then you got the West Indies. So if they win probably maybe 3 and probably drop 1 game, they're a chance. But if they lose more than that, they're going to struggle. So I think Australia can do it. they are capable when they get it right. But I am concerned with the batting. And, that's been a big problem for Australia for the last few years in T20 cricket. The batting has struggled. So hopefully we can be consistent with the bat. And we're in a good position. We've already won our first game. So hopefully we can win today. That's two games from 2. And if we drop one, so be it. But if we win the next, because I think you probably need 3 or 4 wins to go through in this group, I think. Because it's a very tough. And I think it'll probably come down to net run rate, maybe, in this very tough group. So Australia will have to probably win every game, in my opinion. But if they win 3, okay, that's good enough, I think.
Amaan, your thoughts whether Australia can qualify for the semi-finals? Do you think alongside England most probably, or you think that they could? Because I think South Africa do have a chance, even though they lost against Australia.
I'm going to go with. I think Australia is going to qualify. Yeah, Australia is going to qualify.
Okay. Yeah, I think we'll take the comments as well from Venuja. He's saying looking forward for the Sri Lankan faces bouncing out the Australian batters. Good statement over there from Jack. From Venuja. Sorry. Shankar, I think Jack answered this question. He start playing today, and I think he gave you the answer earlier. So yeah, we won't go on that. Shankar here also asks Jack, how is the Sheffield Shield matches going on? Manas and Kawaj are doing good.
Sheffield Shield cricket's obviously started in Australia. Obviously, Marnus and Khawaja scored centuries for Queensland.
Yeah, I have to go soon. Sorry, I have to go soon.
Yeah, no problem, Amaan.
136 to Marnus, 119 to Khawaja. Even Matt Renshaw scored 120 not out, and he still and he batted well. So 3 centuries there. Marnus is in good form. That's good signs for the Ashes later on this year that he's scoring runs. Khawaja, he's scored 2 centuries in a row now. A lot of people are saying he should be in the Ashes squad, probably to open maybe. So, they're going well at the moment.
Ipansu is saying breaking news. According to reports, Saurav Ganguly will resign BCCI president in upcoming days. We're not aware of this yet. Yeah, but thank you for the update over there. Could be possible. Yeah, most perhaps. Yeah, but that's a big statement. Yeah, I think we covered here today. Shankar here says, I feel Warner will score today and looked in good touch against South Africa too. Yeah, hopefully Warner does his best. I think he has a good record against Sri Lanka. So, yeah. Samath here says, who will be man of the match in today's match? I will go with Warner. I think, Jack, you went with Glenn Maxwell, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I chose Glenn to be probably the man of the match today in this match for Australia.
Yeah. Even Rohan agrees with you. Maxwell is the guy today with bat and ball. So I think we covered everything here. Yeah, I think we covered the match. I mean, all the matches so far. Thank you so much, Jack, for coming today. It's a pleasure thank you so much for coming to the Sports Breakdown in the first place. Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me, Pawan. It's great to be here, as I said earlier, to talk cricket, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah. So we'll end it over there. And so thank you so much to everyone. Please subscribe to the Sports Breakdown. I know that most people who are viewing are not subscribed. So please do subscribe. And please do subscribe to the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast as well. And please do check out his upcoming videos as well. And hope for a great match. Australia versus Sri Lanka. Cracking match. And hope I'm backing Sri Lanka, obviously, because I'm from Sri Lanka. And Jack is obviously backing Australia, since he's from Australia. But it's great great that we were also back in the Sports Breakdown, covering all these matches, doing all the post-match analysis of the last 2 days, and doing the preview as well today. So thank you so much, and looking forward to do the post-match analysis tomorrow, hopefully, and then covering tomorrow's matches as well. Till then, see you guys, and have a great night, and let's meet up tomorrow on the Sports Breakdown tomorrow morning. Yeah. Till then, goodbye, and yes, thank you so much. Yeah.